with our gospel reading being the visitation of Mary to Elizabeth, I'm going to use that as a jumping off point to talk about something that I feel that every priest talks about at some point. And that's the notion of gossip. It's been on my brain for the last week or so because I have heard a lot of confessions this last week. I think I beat my high score this last week. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you any of them. But as you might expect and imagine, gossip is a fairly common thing that comes up in the confessional. And while the context will differ from person to person, while the penance will differ from person to person, my opening remarks are almost always very similar. Because when someone comes to me for reasons of gossip, I always like to begin by explaining quickly what is and is not gossip. And that's the lesson I want to impart today. So, one quick question to tie that lesson to our gospel reading today. Were Mary and Elizabeth gossiping? I would think not. And I say that the answer is no because gossip is not the simple exchange of information. Okay? Sharing news, even news about other people, that is not gossip. That does not impair your relationship with God. Therefore, it's not sinful. Therefore, it's not something that needs to be brought up in the confessional. If gossip is indeed sinful, then there has to be an element of meanness. In my book as a confessor, if it's gossip, it's got to have an edge to it. There must be some quality that is harmful or selfish or prideful or cruel. I mean, it's got to be there somewhere. So if you disagree with me and say that gossip can be the mere exchange of information, then at least I would say that there's such a thing as sinless gossip. Harmless, and therefore there's no need to worry about it. So, the question of whether or not something is or is not gossip. Let's try a few examples, shall we? Hey, can you believe that guy a couple of pews back from you? He's wearing a turkey trot shirt. What is this, 2015? November 2015? Obviously that's gossip. And that was loud, sorry. That is obviously gossip. It's judgmental, it's shallow, and if it was me saying that, it wouldn't even make any sense because I'm wearing a turkey trot shirt. Couldn't resist. Okay, so that one's pretty easy. Let's try example number 2. Did you hear about Mark the other day? He actually got accepted to Doctors Without Borders. So he's actually going to be leaving for Peru in a couple of months. Not gossip. If someone came to me with that in the confessional, I'd say, well, I've heard nothing mean, nothing cruel. Assuming you did actually know that Mark was accepted to the program, there's nothing stopping you, nothing wrong with sharing that with a friend or a family member. If anything, you're indirectly supporting Mark in his efforts. So assuming there was no unspoken factor complicating things, I'd say that's something we don't need to worry about. All right. Third example. This one's actually kind of challenging. I'm actually going to give you a little time to think about this one. Hey, can I tell you something? I was talking to Bob yesterday, and turns out his marriage is in a lot of trouble. Now, he didn't want a lot of people to know, but I wanted to tell you because you two work together a lot, and I think some basic kindness from you would go a long way to really helping them get through this, okay? So, is that gossip? Why or why not? Again, assuming someone came to me in the confessional for that, I would say, yes, that's gossip. Now, to be fair, I detected no meanness, no cruelty. It sounds like the speaker genuinely cares about Bob, wants to help Bob to the best of their ability. That part's fine. The problem is that in the end, there is an element of selfishness. And the key piece of information was that Bob did not want other people to know about his marriage troubles. So the speaker was taking it upon themselves to decide who should and should not know about Bob's trouble. That is a small piece of dignity that was taken away from Bob. And even with good intentions, that can be very harmful indeed. So again, if that was in the confession, I'd say that is a worthy topic for us to talk about. So, part of what I'm trying to get at here is gossip is a thing that we all do, make no mistake. And we do it for different reasons. Sometimes we're like the guy from the first example, where we gossip because we need to vent about people who annoy us. Other times, we're like that guy from the third example, where we mean well, we just fail to think before we speak. And again, I have to reiterate, we all do this to a greater or lesser extent, myself included. I have a group of friends that I hang out with from time to time. And sometimes when we're together, we start talking about our classmates behind their backs. And once you start that conversation, it is very difficult to stop it. And when that conversation goes that direction, it ends the same way every night. I drive home, and I just feel petty. Like, those were uncharitable things for me to say. And so I normally get home, get out of my car, and before I go to bed, I send an apology text to the guys of, sorry the conversation went that way, I'll try better next time. And that's the reason we come to the sacrament of confession in the first place. That notion of trying to do better next time, whether or not we succeed or fail. So, that is the reality in our lives. And on the other hand, we have the gospel, the visitation. And the visitation, it's this quick little reading, and it's a little glimpse into what an ideal human gathering ought to look like. Was there an exchange of information? Absolutely. Rather important information, I might say. Was there joy? Of course there was. But was there pride or selfishness? No, there was not. Because sharing news is not selfish. Even if it's news about yourself, it is not selfish in the sinful sense of the word. So, with only a few days left to prepare, let's strive to let our Christmas celebrations reflect that celebration of good company, good holiday cheer, and quality conversation.